Hello guys, welcome back to our tutorial. Once again, today we're going to look at how we can configure RIP version 2 in our two routers. As you can see from here, we have two routers and we have different networks. We have, for example, this one here, we can call it Office A, and then we can call this one Office B. As you can see, this one here is in different network, which is 30.0. This one here also different network, 10.0/24. Okay, so we're gonna configure these two networks to communicate to each other so that they can share resources. Okay, so here, as you can see, I've connected from my computer to the router using console cable, because this is what even in physically that's what you're gonna do, just in case you're doing these things like physically in your router, in your network. You're gonna need this console to connect to the router. Okay, so we're gonna jump into our configuration through the terminal. I'm gonna configure this router. We do the configuration. Okay, enable config terminal. Okay, so we give it a name. Let's say this is router A, or okay, we say router 1. Okay, router 1, line console 0, we give it a password 123. Okay, login. Okay, do right. Okay, sorry, this do right. Okay, like that. Okay, so exit. We say we configure, we assign the IP address into the interface. Okay, we say interface gigabyte, which is this one here. Okay, as you can see, this interface which is connecting from the router to the switch is what we're gonna configure right now. Okay, interface gigabyte 0/0. Okay, IP address 192.168.10.1. okay, 255.255.255.0. This is the subnet mask. Okay, this is subnet mask. You say no shutdown. You save. Okay, as you can see from here, it's provisioning. Very soon it will turn to green. Okay, to turn to green, it's still provisioning. Okay, so without wasting of time, we are jumping into our next configuration. We need to configure this interface which is coming from this router to this router. Okay, which is serial 0/3/0 to this router. Okay, so we're gonna say interface serial 0/3/0. We say IP address. So we're gonna configure this network into this interface. Okay, the one which is facing each other from this router 1 to this router. Okay, so IP address 192.168.20.1. subnet mask 2.2.255.255.0. Okay, so say clock rate. Say you can choose any clock rate here. Let's say clock rate is the 9600. Then you say no shut. The right. Okay, here we are done. So the reason as to why this one here is not turning to green, because we have not yet configured this interface here. Okay, so the moment we just configure this interface here, it will definitely turn to green. Okay, so for this router we are done. We're gonna look at the other router in network B. Okay, we're also going to connect this one using our console to this router for configuration. Okay, so we enter into the router using the terminal. We also configure it. Okay, network. Okay, enable config terminal. We give it a name, host. Let's say we call this one router 2. We can say line console 0. You can say password 123. Again, login. login. Okay, we are done. So we are remaining with the assigning the configuring of the IP interface into the IP address into the interface. Okay, we say interface. You can put it in the, you can configure it in this line, or you can even exit. If you want, you can exit to the next line. Then you say interface gigabyte 0/0 IP address 192.168.30. This is now this gigabyte 0. Okay, this interface connecting from this router to this switch. Okay, which is gigabyte 0/0, and then we're gonna use this IP address. Okay, this network, this IP in this network 30.1. The subnet mask 255.255.255.0. You say no shut. You see, it's even turning to green. You do right, you save it. Now here, this one has turned to green. And this one here is still provisioning. That's why it's trying to. We just want it to turn to green. Now we are done with this interface. Now we're going to configure this interface facing from this router going to this router here. Okay, in the network. So we're gonna say interface serial 0/3/0, which is this one here, as you can see, this one here. Okay, so we say IP address 192.168.20.2. This time is 2. Remember, at this interface we had given it as 1. Okay, 20.1. Now for this interface here, we are going to put it as 2. Okay, .2, 20.2. Okay, and then you assign the subnet mask 255.255.255.0. Okay, now shut down. So for here, we are not gonna configure the clock rate, because the clock rate is supposed to be here in this interface, as you can see. Okay, now you're gonna turn it up. As the moment I just click enter, it will turn to green, as you'll see. Okay, you see, as you can see from here, it has turned to green. So this one can communicate to this one. Okay, this one can communicate to this. This one can communicate to this, but this one cannot communicate to this. Okay, that's where now our topic is coming to, where we are going to configure a router, a RIP version 2, to make them communicate to each other. Before I go further, I need to save my configuration. Okay, so before we configure, we need to first check which networks are we advertising. Okay, I always like checking to show IP protocol. Okay, you see, as you can see, there are no protocols yet assigned. Okay, I also like checking which IPs to be advertised. Okay, this is what I normally do. I put this command so that I can know which IP addresses should I advertise in the network for it to communicate. Okay, so whenever I do this this command, it gives me, so each network, each IP address I see here, when I see C and then followed by this IP address, this is the network I'm going to advertise. Okay, because these ones are directly connected. Okay, so I'm going to advertise this network and this network. Okay, in this router. So we're gonna do we're gonna say router RIP version 2. We say network 192.168.20.0. Okay, we also advertise the other one. Now remaining with this one. Okay, 30.0. We say network 192.168.30.0. Okay, we save it. Here we are done. Okay, now before we configure the other router with the RIP version 2, I wanted you to see something The reason as to I'm configuring this router, this RIP version 2, this protocol, because I want you to see the difference. Before you configure the protocol, you need to know that these people here, they cannot communicate to each other with the ones in the other router. Okay, so let's assign the IP address 192.168.10.2, and then default gateway 192.168.10.1. okay, with this one here we are done. For this one, we're gonna configure this, the IP address 192.168.10.3, default gateway 192.168.10.1. okay, now for this one here also, we are assigning IP address 192.168.30.2. 192.168, assigning the default gateway .30.1. okay, so we are done with this one. Now remaining on last computer, we're gonna assign this IP address 192.168.30.3, the default gateway 192.168.30.1. okay, now we are done. Now you can see for these computers, this one computer can communicate with this one, and this computer can communicate only with this one. It can also reach to the router, and then these computers can also reach to the router. This router here can communicate with this one, but these computers cannot communicate to this one. Okay, we're gonna test. Okay, so I'm going to ping from this computer to this one here. You see, it's successful. Okay, now we're gonna ping from this computer, no, from this one to the router. Okay, successful. Okay, now from here we also now going to test these computers in this network. Okay, first delete this one to this one. Okay, as you can see, successful. Okay, then we're gonna also ping test this one from this computer to the router. Okay, you see, it's successful. Okay, now we are going to ping from this router to this router. Okay, successful. Okay, as you can see, but from here to here it will not work because we did not configure the protocol, the routing protocol, which is version 2. Okay, we had only configured here, and we left here on purpose because I want to show you guys why we need the routing protocol, and if you configure it, what happens, and if you don't configure it, what happens. Okay, now we're gonna test. We're gonna test from here to this network. You see, it fails. When you try again, even 1,000,000 times, it will fail. You try again, it will fail. Even to another computer, it will fail. The reason is because we did not configure the routing protocol. Now, this is what I wanted to show you guys. Now I'm going to configure the routing protocol in this network. We had already configured here, as you can see before. Now we are going to configure here so that like both of them can communicate. Okay, using the terminal, I've come back. Remember the password we had given before, which was 123. So enable, we say config terminal. When we check our protocols, if you want to check the protocols, which protocols you configured, you say do show IP protocol, You see, when you see something like this one, it means you have not configured anything. Okay, now we're gonna look at the routes that we are going to advertise. Do show IP routes. Okay, so as you can see from here, the ones with C are the ones we are going to advertise in our network. This is .10.0, then plus .20.0. Okay, so we are going ahead. We say router RIP version 2, then we say network 192.168 dot, which is 10.0, and then the other one again network .192.168 dot 20, which is here 20.0. you save your work. Okay, you save your work to be at the safer side. Now we're gonna test what I was testing here before to prove me wrong or right. So we are going to test our connectivity again from this computer to this computer, if it can reach well. Okay, before it was not reaching well because we did not configure the routing protocol. Now this time you have configured the routing protocols. We're going to test if it can reach well. Okay, I know for the first time it's going to fail because it will still be recognizing, but the second time it will go successful. Oh, okay, this time it has gone successful. Okay, so meaning our configuration, it's perfect. When we test again, now let's test for the other one. Let's first delete this for the other computer. You see, this was what I was trying to mean. For the first time it will fail, and then the second time it will go successful. Now this time it will go successful. As you can see from here, it is successful. This comes to the end of configuration of RIP version 2. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and we meet again. Thank you. Bye bye.